Hello again, grade 8 math students, and welcome to the next video in our series on geometry. I hope your experience with this remote learning has been positive and that your questions are getting answered. Do email me or contact me in some way if that's not happening. So today we're looking at another concept. This one's kind of neat. We're using this instrument again, the compass. It looks a little strange today because I've MacGyvered on a pen here. I noticed in earlier videos that my pencil arcs did not show up on the paper, so we'll see what happens with a marker kind of attached on there. If you've looked at the textbook ahead a little bit, or just you noticed that today's title is Bisectors. It's similar to a word you've heard before, to dissect something, but this one is bisect with a B, and really it's a fancy word to mean cut in half. So today we're going to look at two kinds of bisectors. We will look at something that bisects a line, and then we will look at something that bisects an angle. And then we'll figure out the steps we need to take to make that happen with this instrument. So let me begin today with the line and show you how we go about bisecting that. So the line can be pretty much any length, doesn't much matter, but if you make it too small it gets difficult to do this job. And there's our line that I would like to basically bisect. I want to cut that in half. And it may seem complicated at first, but it's actually quite a simple process. And it's all based on the fact that this instrument can always maintain one distance between the 2 points and kind of keep that the same all the time. This whole process is not going to work if the points are less than halfway across. So you want to kind of get your metal point on one end of the line and then open it up so that you're confident you're past half. And if you're very close to half, it's going to be awkward. So you want to get yourself out. The 3/4 mark is kind of your ideal sweet spot for doing these. So now we take the metal point, we place it on one end of our line, like so. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can draw an arc that just goes all the way around like that. I am hoping, yeah, that shows up a lot better than the other ones did. Or, let's go over to the other one and I'll show you here. You know, because these are the same distance apart, they're going to meet somewhere above your line. So you can just draw a little arc there and a little arc there. And as long as those two cross each other, you're going to be in pretty good shape. So we've basically already done the work. So just to review, what we're doing is we're taking our compass point, placing it on one end of the line, creating an arc above the line near its center, and one below the line near its center, sort of aligned with the middle of that line. And then we place it on the other dot, and we just make sure we have two that cross that first set of lines, and we should be good to go. All we have to do now is draw something that moves from the top to the bottom, from that first connecting point to the last one. So there we go, all lined up. Let me draw that line in. And this is the bisector that cuts this line in half. So we've just bisected this line. So if we initially call this line AB, this is the bisector for line AB, but there's something special about this bisector too. When we use this compass method, the nice thing is we will always end up with exactly a 90-degree angle right there. So if you recall from your geometry terminology, these two lines are perpendicular to each other. So this line is now called the perpendicular bisector. Okay, now we also know, by the way, that from A to the center, let's call the center C, that will be the same distance as from C to B. So I can indicate that like that. And interestingly, just as a side effect, this length is exactly the same as that one. So the original line actually also is a perpendicular bisector to the one that we drew. So that's the first kind. The other kind I was telling you about is bisecting an angle. So I'm going to just draw an acute angle here. It works with any kind of angle, by the way. In fact, maybe I'll just make it obtuse. So here comes an angle. And the trick is, what we want to do is consider this, and we want to cut that in half. So if I look at that angle for a moment, we should get something a little over 90, right? Because it's an obtuse angle. So there's my crosshairs on, there's my 0 arm lined up on the one side, count up from 0, I'm at 104 degrees. So if I do a decent bisector on this, then what should happen is I end up with two angles that are half of that, which would be what, 52 degrees. So let's see how this works. We're now going to take this compass again, and we want to find something again that's not like so tiny it's hard to work with, but not so far off the ends that it misses our line. So somewhere about here, let's say. And we want to cross one arm of our angle, and we want to cross the other arm of our angle. There's no reason you couldn't make the entire arc, but it's just not particularly helpful. So this gives us the advantage now of knowing that we're the same distance away from the vertex on both edges. Now you may leave your compass the same distance apart in some cases, depending on the type of angle that you're doing, but just looking at mine, I have a feeling that if I make two arcs from these points, they're not going to touch each other. So I'm going to spread it out, just so I'm sure they will. So I go to one intersection point that I drew, I put my metal point on there, and draw an arc. And since we know it's bisecting the angle, we know it has to go across this general area here. Put the compass point on the other intersection you created, and cross that first arc. And that's the key point right there. If we connect that to the vertex of our angle, then we have bisected that original angle. So let's connect those two together, and let's see what we get. Okay, now with any luck, we should see that the 1/2 is about 52 degrees. So let's place this on and get that 0 lined up with one of the arms, and oh, you look at that. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 52 degrees, just about bang on. So it works very nicely, and remember, at first it might seem a bit complicated, but it's just a matter of you start at the vertex and you just create an arc on each arm. Then you go to those intersection points. Typically you might need to just widen this out a little, make one arc from there, go to the other intersection point, cross that arc, you're on your way. Okay, don't forget to check for the assignment in Google Classroom today. Hope you have a wonderful day today. Get some exercise, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.